Okie dokie, welcome to an introduction to protein and how it fits within your lifestyle. Now, one of the common misconceptions as far as protein goes is this assumption that protein is going to make you massive, and that's really not the case. And I'm going to dispel some of the myths throughout this super quick video on protein itself. So, let's dive in. So, first of all, what is protein? Well, first of all, it's the building blocks of the body. So if you imagine everything ranging from your muscle tissue to your brain and your organs, they're all made up of proteins. And essentially, a protein is made up of a series of amino acids. Now, there are two types of primary protein sources. So you have animal and plant-based sources. And where we get these from, I will cover slightly later on in this video on some basic recommendations of what to get. But of course, if you're looking to make whole meal ideas up, then if you go down to the resources section of this page, then you'll see that there are a plethora of meal ideas that you can go through and get some useful hints and tips on creating your own high protein meals as well. So you'll see this little graphic here. Don't worry too much about the science. I just wanted to explain to you roughly how a protein is made up. So you can see here, you have almost like a pearl necklace. So that's a chain. That's a chain of amino acids. And within that chain, you have two different things that can occur. So if it's an animal-based protein, you will always have varying degrees of every amino acid in there, which means that it is a complete amino source. So the amino profile is complete. Now, this might sound a little bit sort of jargony to you, but you have to understand that animal sources are something that you can repeat time and time again within your nutrition. If you say you only like chicken or you only like beef, for example. However, with plant-based sources, unfortunately, because of the fact that the amino profile is not complete, it means that you must ensure that you vary your protein sources that you consume anyway. And I'm assuming most people do that regardless. I mean, there's not many people who are happy to wake up in the morning and go throughout the entire day just eating, for example, chicken or tofu. And I'd like to make this assumption that you would be having variation within the diet. But just in case you wanted to put that at rest, it is absolutely essential that you do so. And as I mentioned before, plant-based protein sources are not complete, so you have to ensure that as a minimum, you have at least 2 to 3 different sources throughout the day just to maximize the body's ability to assimilate, so basically use the protein that you consume to the best of its ability. So why is it important though? Well, first of all, it aids in recovery. So the journey that you're on right now, there will be an element of some pretty tough training, even if it is within more constricted time frames. And recovery happens outside of the training that you do. So it's all well and good, training as much as you can, but why not train just slightly harder and train less and focus on having good quality recovery? Because building quality muscle equals an increase in basal metabolic rate, and the basal metabolic rate is the most important part in order to have a more sustainable and healthier lifestyle. So our basal metabolic rate is defined by how much muscle mass we have on the body, and that rate is determined by the amount of calories that our bodies consume at rest. So without doing anything, how many calories would your body consume over a 24-hour period? And so we're not going to go into the science of this, it's unnecessary. I'm just bringing to light the fact that you should be consuming more protein because it's going to build this quality muscle, which is going to make you feel better. It's going to make you perform better. It's going to make you look better, and also it's going to increase the amount of calories that you consume, that you burn throughout the day too. And it's a natural fat burner too. So just to give you an idea, let's say you consumed 100 calories of protein. 30% worth of that, so let's say, for example, you were having 100 calories of protein in this one particular meal, 30% of that calorific requirement of that would then be consumed by your body to assimilate it. So again, using it. So what that means is your body is going to have this protein come into it and it's going to require 30% extra energy to use it, which means it has thermogenic properties. What I mean by that is it's going to be something that's going to force your body to work slightly harder in order to use the protein effectively, do all of the processes that it needs to do, repair tissue, etc. So you can use this as sort of like a bit of a hack. And if this doesn't sort of sway you towards consuming more protein in your diet, aside from the fact that your body's going to look better, you're going to be burning more calories overall, I mean, this should be the main reason. It's going to make sure that you are using more calories than you need to, which means you can have slightly more throughout the day too. And finally, it increases our energy. Now, I don't mean that as in it's an energy source, but as a byproduct of having more muscle, you're going to be able to move more efficiently. Movement's going to be easier, which means that by default, your lifestyle quality is going to massively improve. So, of course, protein is massively important for this reason as well. So, how much protein should you be having throughout the day? Well, it varies slightly, and it comes down to how well you are prepared to adhere. But so we'll just run through and give you some guidelines. So first of all, you want to be having a lot more than you think. So a lot of people, when I look at the 7-day food log, which you should have completed by now, I will actually be able to see, and you will see too, that you're not actually having that much protein in your diet at all, and that you should easily be able to increase that by just increasing the quantity of the protein that you're having, which as a byproduct will make the rest of your meal smaller. So it's sort of a win-win. So the perfect amount that you should be aiming to consume is 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So if you were 160 pounds in body weight, then you'd be looking to have 160 grams of protein. The acceptable range would be around about 1.7 grams per pound of body weight. So if you're 160 pounds in body weight, you'd have about 112 grams of protein. And an okay amount, if you're looking to make progress, would be 0.5 gram per pound of body weight. So you're looking around about 80 grams of protein for this example person here. And so all of these are very easy to achieve. Now, of course, if your body weight's, 200 plus, then again, that amount of protein you're going to be consuming is really going to dictate the size of your meals as a whole, especially if you're not used to eating that much. And what I'm trying to get you to do is understand that you can't eat a lot of food. It's about eating the right food and being consistent with it, which is going to allow you to make serious progress. So we'll run through some quality sources here, and I'm just going to pop the table up for you just so you get to see them all. And if you want, you can pause this video and have a look through. So animal protein sources wise, so at the top here, you've got lean cuts of poultry, so chicken, etc. Livestock, white fish, oily fish, eggs, yes, even the yolk. The yolk has some vital components in it too. The yolk contains good quality fats that we should be consuming, and also the bulk of the vitamins and minerals from the egg as well. Just to give you an idea, the yolk as well, which we'll discuss in the fat video, which will be coming very soon, has essential fatty acids, and of course we must ensure that we have these EFAs in our diet as well. And then finally, whey protein. Then on the other side of the table, we'll have the plant-based protein sources. So as a reminder, you want to make sure you're having at least one type, ideally 3 throughout the day. So some examples here, you've got black beans, tofu, nuts and seeds, and then a range of examples there that you can use. But just bear in mind that nuts and seeds are generally very high in fat, so you shouldn't base your protein intake purely off nuts and seeds, because unfortunately the calorie content to make you feel full in a volume point of view is going to be really high, so it's very unsustainable. So we'll move on from that. Then tempeh, chickpeas, broccoli, and quinoa as well. So in summary of this video, so more protein generally means better, and you can use your nutrition report again for some guidance on this. And again, at week 4, we'll do exactly the same thing again. If following a plant-based diet, make sure you're mixing the protein sources due to the amino profile. Okay, so as I mentioned before, the protein source that you'd have from a plant-based diet doesn't have the complete profile. So just remember to, have 2-3 different types throughout the day, every day, to make sure that you're reaching that full profile within the protein source that you're consuming. And then that means your body's just going to do the best with that, rather than, missing out on the opportunity to make that progress that you're looking to make. And then finally, you can create your own meals using protein as the basis of the meal. And the good thing about this is, let's say, for example, you were having some breakfast foods. Now, rather than trying to think blindly about what meals you can have, you can think, well, what protein sources are associated with breakfast foods? What protein sources are generally associated with lunchtime, with dinner time, etc. And then you can go from there and create the rest of your meal pretty easily. And you'll see that the protein sources that you'll have throughout the day are generally totally different. And that, again, is going to give you a big range, which is going to stop you from, 1, getting bored, and 2, making sure that you are varying your sources as well.